Okay, quick show of hands. How many people are glad 2020 is finally over? Among other things, the coronavirus affected everyone's life to some degree. Social distancing, wearing a mask, sheltering at home, at best it was an inconvenience. At worst, it made life miserable. And what about all the events that were canceled? Well, each year, young people across Alabama, and the country for that matter, get a pig or a calf or some other farm animal and train and nurture it to compete in livestock shows. Imagine the disappointment after spending months feeding, grooming, and training an animal, and then the show gets canceled.
We were going to take two of my pigs to a show in Louisville, and that got canceled, so then we wound up going to Iowa, which that was a lot harder because they had never seen a show ring before. So it's just been a lot much harder than it usually is.
All parents hate to disappoint their children, but when large gatherings were halted by the COVID-19 pandemic, young people found themselves at home rather than at livestock shows, which had been canceled.
You know, instead of buying a pig and showing it 3 or 4 times, we've shown it once. So these pigs are a big investment, and when you only get to show them one time, that affects the investment that you've made.
Besides the disappointment of not being able to show their animals, the Hodnitts and thousands of other families across the country have also had to deal with the financial consequences. Because the animals are constantly growing and changing, the owners can't just hold them until next year.
These pigs they're bred and bought for specific shows. And so when they cancel those shows, then you don't really have anywhere else to go because you only show them about 6 months and then they're done.
Between buying the animal and equipment, feed, and other expenses, showing livestock can be costly. But parents say it's important to realize this is much more than a hobby.
Responsibility is definitely a big one. I mean, because she's responsible, she's got to feed them, clean them. We wash them and lotion them every day and brush them and clean stalls, and she knows that it's a commitment. Once we get a pig, you paid for it, you're committed to it.
It's not easy to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning on a show day, and especially this morning it was cold, so it's not easy to get up that early in the cold, wash your calves, and go all day. It's something about work. I've learned to work hard and not really give up. I think you learn how to take wins and losses at times, and I think it builds character to me. It builds character.
Audra says the show ring is where she learned that some days you win and some days you lose, no matter how hard you worked. But when there's no show, it's tough to look on the bright side.
Even if you have a bad day of showing, you can turn that around and say, well, at least you got to show and, still have fun and just take the positive sides out of it.
Joining us to talk more about this issue is Brady Ragland, Director of the Beef Division and Coordinator of the Junior Livestock Programs at the Alabama Farmers Federation. Brady, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we've looked at how COVID has affected livestock shows in Alabama. How widespread has this problem been around the country?
Well, just like pretty much every event these days, it seems like postponement and cancellations are the name of the game. And that wasn't just unique to Alabama. We had to postpone and cancel certain very important livestock events to these junior exhibitors. But those cancellations were experienced all over the country, and every state had their different rules on how what they could allow and what they couldn't. It's made it very challenging to keep these livestock events on their current date or the date they were scheduled.
And explain a little bit to us about why, with livestock events in particular, it's so tough to even postpone, and especially when you cancel the events. What makes that tough on the exhibitor and animal?
That's a great question. So unlike certain events that can be pushed back 6 weeks, 6 months, and really kind of still capture the same event even though it's been pushed back, livestock events don't work that way. And the reason is because you're dealing with a growing animal. Those exhibitors have purchased that animal, they've raised it, they've fed it, they've done everything in their power to make that animal look their best on a given certain day. And when you push that date back and back and back, those animals are continuing to get fed, they're continuing to mature, and they just don't look quite the same as you push those show dates further on back. So it's very difficult to postpone or even cancel, obviously, for long periods of time.
Now, when you have these shows that are canceled, it's more than just a kid doesn't get their ribbon.
Absolutely. So obviously there's awards, there's ribbons, there's banners, and there's prize money at play. But probably the most disappointing from a show manager's standpoint is the fact that those kids have put in so much time, effort, dedication in feeding, working with their projects, and they're not able to show off their hard work in the show ring. So that's easily the most disappointing part of the whole process, is those kids simply aren't able to get out there and show off what they've worked so hard for.
Brady, thank you for being with us and offering a little bit of insight into the problem.
Thanks for having me.
Now, when we get back, Stacy Little will show us how to toss together a delicious side dish using a Southern staple, pimento cheese.
You've got this girl's attention. And if you think pimento cheese is just for dips and sandwich spreads, you'll want to stick around. We'll be right back.
There's nothing quite like sitting down to a home-cooked meal with fresh vegetables from the garden. With Bonnie plants from your local quality co-op store, you can enjoy the freshest vegetables right from your own backyard. And no matter if you're a raised bed gardener, a rose gardener, or if you farm hundreds of acres, your quality co-op store has exactly what you need to get the most out of your plants. You'll always find what you need, plus friendly, knowledgeable advice at your local quality co-op store. There's one near you.
FFA makes a positive difference in the lives of students by developing their potential for premier leadership, personal growth, and career success through agricultural education.
We're strengthening American agriculture and providing our members with the skills needed to build healthy local communities, a strong nation, and a sustainable world.
We are the next generation of agriculture.
It's our turn now.
Let's show the world what we can achieve together.
We are FFA.
I'm Grover Plunkett. Cattle business really is the center of what we do on the farm. We have about 250 brood cows, and now we're in the tree business a little bit too. I don't know if I can pinpoint a date that I found out about Alabama Farm Credit. They've always been around. My grandfather did business with them. My dad did business with them, and here we are. So you don't want to talk to somebody that doesn't understand what you do.
For more Simply Southern, follow us on social media. And while you're online, visit our website, simplysouthern.tv.net. Simply Southern continues in a moment.
Sweet Grown Alabama is such an amazing brand. It'll be great for consumers to be able to connect immediately with an Alabama grown or made product.
Sweet Grown Alabama, what it means to us is community. By buying Sweet Grown Alabama, you are able to support your community and kind of play your part and help the farmers.
There's a huge advantage just to your local community by buying local, whether it's local farms or local businesses.
Find Sweet Grown Alabama farms, markets, restaurants, and stores near you at sweetgrownalabama.org.